So this is part 10 of the decrees. So this is part 10 is the Financial Severance Decree. And so I've done 9 decrees. So I usually write them up ahead of time and then film them. And this is the only decree I've had to film twice. So the other decrees, I filmed it and then I watched it and I was like, yep, they're good. They're good to go up. And this one, it did not come through. The audio did not come through, and I've had to redo it. So, second time is the charm. So I know this one is really huge because this is where most of the interference happens in 3 and 4D. Besides our bodies and our health, it's financial and all the financial systems and the entanglements of the financial system. So this is part 10. And if you can, please go to video 1 to 5 at least and watch those first before doing the financial decree. Okay, so what is the decree? Okay, so welcome. The decree is a conscious, spoken declaration made in full awareness. The decree is a sovereign act. It's a clear statement identifying what does not belong in your field, and you are saying it is released. It's not a request. It's not something you hope for that's going to happen in some future time. It's a direct decision spoken in your own voice of what you want cleared energetically and any system entanglements. So the core principle is I am sovereign. I release what is not mine, and it is done. It's that simple. But you will feel for your body, it is not so simple, right? Because you're going to be feeling things in your body the entire time that we're doing the decree. And so just notice or have like a notebook next to you and just write down, um, because you'll forget, just write down how you're feeling as you go through the process and how is your body doing going through the process. Did anything happen in your environment? So the first time I started filming, somebody started mowing their lawn just in that moment, Of course, they could have been mowing their lawn at any time. But anyways, I'm not superstitious. I don't care. If I have to film again, I will film again. So, all right, so let's begin. So your eyes are open, fully aware, you're speaking it in your own voice, you're writing the decree by hand. You just need one piece of paper, plain piece of paper, okay? And you're going to write both sides of this piece of paper. And then you just need a pen. And then I always just say, have a backup pen. Um, so you're going to speak it out loud and then you're going to burn the decree. You're going to add salt to the ashes. And then you just need a pot and we're going to go into the kitchen and you need a pot and some tongs to hold the piece of paper. So like this, and then your pot and then have it over. And then when you light it, it's going to burn. And then by your comfort level, you can always just drop it in to the pot like that and it'll burn to ash. Okay, good. Okay, so that's kind of the materials that you need. It's really simple. And then we're going to flush the ashes. We're going to sprinkle the ashes with salt in the pot and then flush those ashes down the toilet. And it's really important. You don't need to keep them. They're not a keepsake. These are things that you're energetically severing. This is energy work. Okay. And you're going to burn it safely, so I say in the kitchen and then open a window or, start the exhaust fan because it can actually smoke quite a bit, because it's one piece of paper, but the energy behind this piece of paper is really big. So, and just the emphasis is on your awareness and your authority, meaning you're choosing, you're deciding, and you're doing. So the decree is a free series, and so it's on YouTube, and I've put them up kind of part one, and this is part 10, the financial severance decree. And it's really important because everybody needs to go at their own pace, and then you can redo. One person's question on the YouTube lives is, can we redo certain decrees like the family decree or the inner child decree or this financial decree? And it's like, yes, because we're focusing on three people or three things in the decrees because we don't want it to end up being a journal or a book because it will be too overwhelming. And that's why it's just one page. Okay. And then we're going to fold that page three times. Okay. And then that is what you're going to burn. Okay. So, and really before you begin, like choose your timing. Like, people come in and they'll have energy sessions and then they'll go out at night. It's like, give yourself 3 days. You might have a lot of energy, but you might also have a lot of, you know, you're discharging a lot out of your system and memories can come up. So, give yourself that 3 days of grace to just, relax and just integrate, keep it easy, keep it light. It seems simple because you're just writing stuff on a piece of paper and then you're burning it and then you're flushing it down the toilet. But for the body and what the entanglements that these simple words have on the body is huge. And your body will actually tell you how enormous this shift is. And so let's gather your material. So you need a lighter. I always say like have a backup lighter. I've seen that where lighters stopped working, or have wooden matches or a candle. There, have a candle. Have a couple pens. And then you just need your piece of paper. You can always have a backup piece of paper. And then be ready to go into your kitchen with your fireproof pot, just simple pot. But it's fireproof, obviously. It's not, you're going to be able to use this. If you use it for cooking, you can use it again. It's just one piece of paper and the ashes of one piece of paper. And then tongs to hold the piece of paper so that it can be very far from your hand. So if it goes up in smoke, you know, you can even have even longer tongs. So, and then I kind of figured out, to me that's the most secure way. So when people have one-on-one sessions, that's what they do. And just remember, have water close by, like this kitchen sink. That's why the kitchen is really important. You don't want to burn it in a fireplace because there's going to be other ashes in the fireplace. And so collecting the ashes is actually really important part of the decree. So you're going to burn the ashes, but then we're going to flush the ashes down the toilet. And then first we're going to sprinkle them with some sea salt. And then, for me as a seer, like, what does that mean? It just means I use multidimensional senses. So I can see, hear, I can hear things, I can see things, I sense things, I know things, and then I get verification from the body. So an example would be one client, he was in Ireland and I'm in Vancouver, and my left knee started killing, like so painful. And I asked him, have you injured your knee? And he was like, oh, I forgot to put that down. And it was so excruciating, his knee, um, that he like almost like dissociated from the injury. And then but the body became very active for it to clear. And so then I asked him for verification because I was feeling it in my body. So is it my body or is it his body? And he said, yes, he actually had a major injury with his knee, his left knee. So, and just, the body is the golden key. It's the compass. It's, tells us what's kind of happening with our field, and then we can confirm the integration, and then we're feeling it in the body. So the body, the guidance isn't complete until the body says yes, and then, the body will. The body's the compass. It's amazing. It always tells the truth. And then your higher self, we connect with your higher self. Your higher self is you, depending on, where's your higher self? What dimension is your higher self? So some people on Earth, on 3D Earth and 3D bodies have very high dimensional higher selves, and they're actually targets on in 3D and 4D Earth. So this work, the decree work and the decree clearings will really help clear out, what is in your field that is not yours. So, and that is really important to know. Like it's very important to know, like, what is in your energy field is just yours alone. So even with our kids, we don't want to be entangled. We don't want to be in their energy system and they don't want to be in our, imagine how kids feel if when parents mesh their energy into their children. Narcissists do that. It feels horrific. It's horrible. It's gross. So we don't want anybody in our energy field, and then we don't want to put our energy into other people's field either. And your higher self is basically like the consciousness connected to source at a higher consciousness or a more advanced, so higher frequency, or at a more pure source frequency. You can think of it that way, you know? And a cosmic law on Earth is consent. So we have to ask for something to be removed. We need the awareness first of what is going on in our field. But that's why it's so amazing that we have a body. Everybody thinks the body is the problem. It's the answer, because at least with a body, we can see what is interfering with our field, what is interfering with us. And so our body always will tell the truth. There's something that feels gross. There's something bothers. There's an interference. I keep, going through the same financial problems. There's something going on, when we start asking questions. Like we're asking our higher self, like, why are we stuck repeating the same dynamics? The same person, or maybe the multiple people. And the lessons are repeating, they're looping, and we're told that that's good. And it's like, no, that's the 3D trick. The 3D trick is the redo. The 3D trick is the looping. Oh, come, do one more life with, all these horrible people, and oh, maybe it will improve. And, you're the only one getting decimated, you know? But you agreed. So yeah, we want to clear all that garbage. It's garbage. If you're living paycheck to paycheck, in Canada, we pay most of our paycheck goes, I said it to a day trader, and I said 80, it just clicked, and I'm, an adult. I'm like, 80% of our money goes to the government. And he was like, yeah. Yeah. No mystery, right? He's a money guy. So, yeah, like what is going on? And we have to start asking, what is going on? Where is our money going? You know, where's 80% of our money going? And then you say, oh, well, in Canada, we have free healthcare. Yeah, good luck trying to find, you know, preventative care. The appointments are like 6 months in advance. Like, there's free, and then there's entangled free, and it's entangled. So we want to free up our money, our finances. We want our sovereignty with our money, and we don't want it entangled in the 3D system or the 4D system. We want our money to be direct with source. So through our hearts, our higher self, and then to source. And then, the background is, 3D and 4D. That 4D controls 3D. And so we don't need like the galactic information, because I find that people get into that and then you get lost in it. You don't need to, but just know that there's all this interference in 3D, and it's with our bodies, it's with relationships, it's with our divine pairing, it's interference and overlays, and then we need to remove those, but they are coming from 4D. So in order to awaken consciousness in 5D, we have to release the entanglements of 4D. And that's what this helps. So 3D is controlled, the ancient Gnostic texts from 2000 years ago were called the archons. They were made basically like the administrators. They're yeah, the administrators is the perfect word. And and then today the same word archon equals Draco reptilians and reptilians. But then if Draco reptilians and reptilians are empty in consciousness, right? Because they can't do such horrific things if they were heart-based. So they do such horrible things, and they've been kind of ruling Earth for the last 2,000 years. But who is controlling 3D, right? And it's 4D. So a lot of people now, and that happened to me as well, is the interference from 4D is very intense, but the decree kicks them out and clears it. And I think that's why this is the first video. So this is the 10th video. The first 9 I didn't have to refilm, and this one I do. So I think this one is really important. So the Anunnaki are like the monitoring system of 4D, and then they control 3D. And then the little minions are like the reptilians and the Draco reptilians. But we don't even have to name them, right? Because they love technology, and they love like the banking system, the stock market, all the systems. They love systems, and they love technology, and they love monetary systems, and then controlling the systems from a higher realm. So 4D is higher than 3D. So, but you don't even need that information. Like, who cares? Like where it's coming from. The fact is there's interference and there's repetition. So let's just clear it out. Okay. But then how come everybody says, well, then why can't source, you know, interfere? Right? God, source, divine presence. And it's like, well, there's a cosmic law on 3D Earth, and this pisses off light workers immensely. Empaths, starseeds, sensitives, black sheep, they're all under the umbrella of a light worker. So coming in here to awaken your consciousness in a very extreme dense system, which is 3D and 4D. So you're awakening in density. It's the toughest place to awaken out of, actually, is 3D Earth. And so why can't source intervene or God intervene? And that's because it's a cosmic law that 3D Earth is free will. So we have to ask, and the best person or the best being or the best consciousness to ask is your higher self, because your higher self can never harm you. Your higher self is you, but you're multidimensional you, your full consciousness you, your full heart-based, source-aligned you. Okay. So source works through presence, through the heart, connecting through the heart to the inner compass. And then the compass never stops reporting accurately. Like your body will say what is happening accurately, right? It just depends if we listen or not. And then your body will say, like, what's interfering? What doesn't feel good? And the compass is the instrument that source moves the sovereign being, right? Gut instinct, intuition, that source guiding you to soul aligned or source aligned work that generates genuine aligned abundance. But we have to get free of the entanglements of 3D. And the decree does, because you're not asking permission. You're saying, look, this is in my field and I want it out. And you are declaring it in your own name and your own voice. So we need to first find out what is going on, asking questions. That's actually a high consciousness, and then clear the interference, so that our inner compass, the intuition, is operational for us to receive. And source always has money prepared for us as a sovereign being, and source already has a plan, or you have a plan with source of what you're here to do on earth. But you're not here to sacrifice yourself. And you're not here like garbage. You're not here to crawl on the ground begging for scraps. That's not a source emanated being, a heart-based being. Just the fact that your heart is activated on Earth in the densest, yuckiest system, 3D Earth is horrific. And you are heart-based, so you actually are feeling the horror of it, you know? Like the dark triad, the sociopath, psychopath, narcissist, they don't feel like the reptilians, they don't feel, they're not heart-based. They don't emanate from source. They're made, they're empty. And that's why there's nothing to heal. They're like, you know, they're basically like as the consciousness rises on 3D Earth and 3D Earth becomes Tara, which is 560, and then Gaia 7890, then, they're not gonna, they can't live in that frequency, so they're just gonna evaporate. They need a body to take over, like a source emanated body, a heart-based body. But if you're here, you're just here to clear whatever is interfering with you, and the body is the golden key. The 3D is always like the funny handshakes and the funny hand signals and the bribes, oh, we'll give you $1 million later, and but later you're gonna have to do these funny jobs, but we're not gonna fully disclose the funny jobs, but it's all later and these funny movements and this private club, there's all these private clubs, where you're making these contracts and agreements. It's just like, look at Apple. How many how many updates does Apple have that they're constantly asking you to sign terms and conditions, agreements? And what are we signing? Right? That is the Anunnaki in essence. They are Apple. They are Microsoft. They love systems, but systems without the heart. Anunnaki, they are heart-based beings. They've just, they call them the fallen or the fallen angels, but then, it disparages angels, high conscious, high vibrational in-service beings. But, they're not in service. They're in service to themselves. And then they create these systems that basically, they basically need 80% of your energy. They need 80% of your money. They need it all the time because they are so far away from source that they can't regenerate their own energy. And so they call it loose. They need your energy. So on that note, let's kick them to the curb. I call them the little stinkers. Yeah, of course they're smart, blah, 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 but it's not heart-based. They've missed the plot. They have gone very far away from source. Their hearts are barely there. That's why they call themselves the 1%ers. I don't know, they're proud of it, but they're saying they're 1%ers based on their financial gains, but they also have only 1% energy of source consciousness. So let's throw them away, toss them aside, focus on our hearts, connect to the inner heart. Good. I got a thumbs up from my Zoom. So yeah, we can just kick them out. We're giving the go ahead, just kick them out. It's amazing. You know how much energy our higher selves would have to come into the Zoom to give like a thumbs up? It happens in sessions all the time. So I'm not surprised by it because it actually happens in most sessions. They're just saying, we're here, So let's connect to the heart. The heart is the gateway to the pillar, to the inner body. In the inner body, we're going to connect to the compass and the inner pillar through the heart. And the pillar is source aligned. As we land here in the present moment, connecting through our hearts. Let's breathe in. Hold and breathe out. Good. And then let's do it again. So breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Good. Release everything that is not ours. Okay, so we just can do that very quickly. So we're grounded in Gaia, which is New Earth. So 7, 8, 9D. 9D is the highest we can go in a human body. So we are connected with Gaia's New Earth, loving and supportive energy. We are anchored in Gaia, connecting to the crystalline grid. And then we can ask our higher selves to bring up the materials, the vitamins and the minerals from the crystalline grid to replenish ourselves. So vitamin D, vitamin C, magnesium, those seem to be the typical ones. Okay, and then our higher self will know what we need and how much of everything that we need. So, and let's give thanks to the ancestors of the land that have come before us, connecting through the heart to source, setting our intention to connect to source directly, and then just trust in the stillness. You don't need to do anything right now. Just be. Just allow yourself to be without expectation. We now open our hearts to source. Our hearts are the sacred gateway to source, to abundance, to divine love, to healing, self-healing, and wisdom. We are fully aligned with source energy and connected through the golden light of source in our hearts. Our inner source pillar can never be harmed. And that's why they kind of put overlays. It's kind of the best way of, as a seer, that I've seen it. Interference is another word. So we're invoking our higher self for clarity and alignment. And we now call upon our higher self for alignment, answers, clearing to the root cause, to the very first incarnation. May our higher self be fully aligned with source, guiding this session with clarity, with love, and the highest good of all. So this work doesn't take away from anybody. All you're doing is removing interference from your own space, your own body. So we're protecting this space with Source's golden light. We surround this space with the shield of light from Source. It's impenetrable and protective. And only energies aligned with unconditional love, Source, and the highest good of all. All interference, false guides, disruptive energies are repelled by Source's golden light. And Source's golden protection shield. Only beings aligned with Source and the highest good are welcome here. All others leave now can really put your foot down. Leave now. This space is sealed in Source's name. It is done. Good. We now set the intention that all information and all wisdom that comes through applies to all time, all space, all dimensions, with the intention of clearing to the root cause, to the very first incarnation. And we're shifting energy across all realities. Good. Okay, so be comfy. This energy work is permanent and aligned with the highest good of all, and only with Source. So affirm, and you can say this aloud, out loud. I am ready to integrate my financial sovereignty. And my gifts from Source. So the Financial Severance Decree intention is to release 3D entanglements. Always clear through my hair. It's like an antenna. We're clearing. Or lots of antennas. So the financial decree intention is to release 3D entanglements and interference with money and abundance, and bring ease with source-aligned money and resources. So to be liberated from 3D, and you can say Archon entanglements, but it doesn't matter. You don't even have to know, or it doesn't matter. We get so caught up on 3D Earth about this. It's just, we want to be liberated from the entanglements, and it is in 3D. But you'll find out all of the names and the information because it becomes part of your consciousness to anchoring in 5D. So don't worry that you're not going to find the labels or the beings. It all comes out. I was gonna say it like comes out like the trash. Because it's quite shocking, when you find out what 3 and 4D is all about. It's quite shocking. And it's like, oh wow, it's like literally the trash, It's like a bunch of garbage that we just have to get rid of and stabilize in 5D. And then many can stabilize in 5D. And then also to liberate ourselves from the entanglements of 4D. So the material and energetic entanglements of 4D. And that's where the Anunnaki basically have been, controllers. All right. So we're there. We've cleared. We have our intention. It's crystal clear, right? We want to release the interference. We want to release the entanglements. We want to be liberated from the material and energetic entanglements. And so we can actually see, what is in our body, what's meant for us, what do we like doing? And then what is the source aligned pathway? So grab your pen and paper. Okay. And then I have it folded 3 times, but you're going to want to start writing like this and then start writing like at the very top. So, because you'll probably use the full 2 pages. So just start writing across like that. Okay, so So you've got your pen and paper, so let's start writing. So write I, and then your full name, your day, month, and year of birth, the time, if you know it, or the approximate time of your birth. If not, you don't know it, just leave it. And the city, drink some water. The city, province, or state that you were born in. And the country. And then you're going to write in full sovereignty. And spelling doesn't matter, punctuation doesn't matter, but I will say it, and then you don't have to worry about it. But sovereignty is SOVEREIGNTY, sovereignty. So in full sovereignty and with the witnessed authority and support of my guides of unconditional love. And if there are particular names that you connect with, write them down. Like many connect with Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Raphael. There's this, a lot of the angels and archangels have gotten a bad rap because of a few 144,000 no, I don't know, of fallen, angels. They were basically at a high vibration. And I don't know if they got like a parasite or something, but anyways, they've lost their way. They've kind of turned into controllers, architects, manipulators, and they're manipulating from 4D. And so, that's why they're called the fallen, because they fell from a high consciousness. So say they fell from 24D source, close to source, and they got lost at who they are. They have like a massive ego where they think they're God. They think they're source, and they kind of play God. With genetics and and with the banking system and the stock market and crypto and all of that, they play God. So they actually do. I think they have like, they're I think that's why they're so obsessed in 3D with like mental illnesses. I think they're like, my mental illness is normal, and I'm not talking about like being depressed or sad or anxious. I'm talking about like being a psychopath or sociopath or narcissist. Like, you know, anyways. Okay, so continue on with the writing. So let's recap. So I, and then your full name, the day, month, and year of birth, and the time if you have it. If you don't, just leave it. And the city, province, state you were born in, and the country. And then write, so you're writing all of this in full sovereignty and with the witnessed authority of my guides of only unconditional love. And then you can actually name them if you want. But just put of unconditional love. Even if you think you know that they're of unconditional love, let's just start with the most secure. And the most secure is to actually just put of unconditional love, a love with no conditions. It's the most powerful. Okay. And then you're going to continue writing. I hereby issue this financial severance, SEVERANCE. Again, spelling doesn't matter, but some people, it makes you understand the words more. So I hereby issue this financial decree for liberation and sovereignty from the material 3D, 4D, money, resource, entanglements, and interference with source timing, and source receiving. So I'll repeat it again. I hereby issue, and maybe drink some water actually. I could feel it in my throat. Okay, so you're writing this down. I hereby issue this financial severance decree for liberation and sovereignty from the 3D and 4D material plane money, resources, entanglements, and interference with source timing and source receiving. It's just like Gaia, Mother Earth, Mother Earth has all the diamonds, has all the gold, has all the minerals, has all the crystals. That's what source has all of it, but all of this interference, it gets us confused, and why are we looping? Why are we repeating the same problems? Right? Same financial situations, same bosses, same losing money in the stock market, the same amount, you boom and then bust. Okay, so, and then you're going to write all contracts, inferred contracts. Inferred is INFERRED. And have some water, please. Right, so you can feel like the constriction, right? So all contracts, inferred contracts, that's the sneaky snake. And then cords, CORDS, vows, VOWS, karmic agreements, CARMIC, karmic agreements, karmic debts related to money, soul ties, financial entanglements, bank approvals, credit approvals, credit score, credit high interest rates, 29%. Yeah, you can borrow, pay it later at 29%, right? Mortgage high interest rates, stock market losses, crypto losses, bankruptcies, kind of good citizen tax recognition. I'm such a good citizen, but it's like, okay, but when you look at that and you look at, in Canada, 80% of your income is going to some undisclosed place for undisclosed things, right? So that's the good citizen, where we're not asking questions. Debts, financial loss, business losses, payment delays, product delays. I knew somebody that his company almost went bankrupt because one of the biggest customers kept delaying payment. And then what he had to produce, he had to pay for his team, he had to pay for his commercial space, and it could have bankrupted him. So he took them to court. And only when he filed to take them to court, did they pay, right? So they hadn't paid for almost a year. So they were trying to bankrupt him. So, but he did it. He persevered and he got his money. But, you know, it was a big lesson because he was so happy to have this big client. But the big clients, they know they have a lot of power. So business losses, payment delays, product delays, shipping delays, debt repayment delays, procrastination of fund transfers, procrastination of buyers, procrastination to distribute estate assets. That comes up a lot in sessions. And then Archon 3D monetary debt. And money systems. And then Anunnaki, Annunaki. I remember the first time I even learned about the Anunnaki was like in 2024. So it's not that long ago. It's 2026 now. So it's, yeah, pretty much 2 years ago. April 2024, and it's April now, it's April 30th that I'm filming this. 2026. So yeah, 2 years. And then so Anunnaki 4D debt, banking, money, crypto, stock markets, they control all of that. Are all expelled from my field, my body, and especially my life force. Okay, so I'm just going to reread that because it's quite a long list. So all contracts, inferred contracts, cords, vows, karmic agreements, karmic debts related to money, soul ties, financial entanglements, bank approvals, credit approvals, credit score, credit high interest rates, mortgage high interest rates, stock market losses, crypto losses, bankruptcies, good citizen tax recognition, debts, financial loss, business losses, payment delays, product delays, shipping delays, debt repayment delays, procrastination of fund transfers, procrastination of buyers, procrastination to distribute estate assets, Archon 3D monetary debt and money systems, Anunnaki 4D debt, banking, money, crypto, stock systems are all, and I put it in capital letters, ALL, all expelled from my field, my body, and my life force. Okay, and then the next line is, I do not consent. Inferred consent, INFERRED, inferred consent is not consent. I sever financial entanglements with the following list. Okay, so I do not consent. Inferred consent is not consent, period. I sever financial entanglements with, and then this is where you're going to put the 3 people, places, or things. So the first one, you're going to write, I sever all financial cords to, and do the hotspot, like what, what is the horror story? Is it a person, place, or thing? And then put that person first or that thing first. And then give 3 reasons of why, of what you're severing. So I sever their manipulation. I sever their bullying. I sever their control, and then what do you reclaim? I reclaim my freedom. I reclaim my innocence. I reclaim my energy. These are just examples, but now you're going to do that with three specific, either 3 people, or it can be anything. It can be an institution. It can be anything. It can be a boss. It can be a business partner. It can be, a business gone bad, and you have one, domineering sibling, that bosses all the other siblings in the family business, whatever it is. So number 1, I sever all financial cords to, and then name it, and then state what you're severing, and then I say just 3 things, and then what do you reclaim? 3 things. And then number 2, I sever all financial cords to, person, place, or thing, then state what you're severing, and then what do you reclaim? And then number 3, I sever all financial cords to, person, place, or thing, state what you're severing, and then what do you reclaim? And then I usually do everything in 3s. So 3 people, places, 3, what are you severing? And then 3, what are you reclaiming? Because I find that we want it just to be on one piece of paper, because you'll get overwhelmed. Like everybody will get overwhelmed because our nervous system will get flooded. So we want to keep it simple. We can always do more financial decrees later, but we want to get started. We want to get started. Okay, so you can even pause the video as you write those, but make sure you drink some water or some tea or a beverage. I don't know. I always say tea, and until I got super into energy work 3 years ago and working with clients, I actually drink so much herbal tea, ginger tea, like with fresh ginger or herbal tea. It's like when you release energetic cords, it's very dehydrating. Whew. Okay, so you're back. All right, so you wrote those, the three I sever all financial cords to, and then underneath each person, you state what you're severing, and then 3 things, and then 3 things that you're reclaiming. Okay. And then write are severed, and I wrote it in capital letters, are severed, SEVERED, dissolved. And you can sprinkle commas anywhere. Are severed, dissolved, and nullified, 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 across. And then I put a colon, and then you just keep writing across the page. All timelines, past, present, and future. All dimensions, 3D, 4D, 5D, and beyond. All incarnations, earth and elsewhere. Okay, so we'll start at the top again of this list. So are severed, dissolved, and nullified across, and I put colon because it's like a list that you're making, but you're going to keep your list going across. Are severed, dissolved, and nullified across all timelines, past, present, and future. All dimensions, 3D, 4D, 5D, and beyond. All incarnations, earth or elsewhere. Good. And then they're updated in the Akashic records, AKASISHIC, Akashic records. the Book of Life, the Tapestry of All Souls, Tapestry, Tapestry of All Souls, the Cosmic Records with Thoth. And the ones that I find are the most important that don't burn, that we have to reburn, are the Akashic Records and the Cosmic Records with Thoth. And to me, the key is the Cosmic Records with Thoth. It has been like the missing piece, right? So, yeah. Okay. And then the next sentence is, I revoke all permission for them to, and that's your 3 that you wrote down. So I revoke all permission for them to access my energy, right? Energy is money. I revoke all permission for them to access my money, access my energy, access my energy and money, siphon my money and material resources. And just notice how your body is feeling. Draw from my field. Remain in my timeline. Hold any claim on my money, my resources, and my sovereignty. I revoke all permission for the archons and Anunnaki, as they have no claim on me and my money, resources, and inferred consent is not consent. So I'll repeat it. I revoke all permission for them to access my energy and money, siphon my money and material resources, draw from my field, remain in my timeline, hold any claim on my money, my resources, and my sovereignty. I revoke all permission for the archons and Anunnaki, as they have no claim on me and my money, resources, and inferred consent is not consent. And just know you don't need to know, the galactic history or Earth's galactic history. I awakened first, and then I learned about all the terms. I learned about what was going on. And then I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing to awaken through that density and through that, convoluted Earth. Earth is convoluted. Okay, so the next sentence is, and it's like, I reclaim and then colon, my financial sovereignty, comma, and just notice what's happening with the jaw, and the face and the jaw. I reclaim my financial sovereignty, comma, my money flows from source to me directly, comma, all loyalty extended, comma, all hope invested, comma, all money and material resources that are rightfully mine, period. So I'll repeat it. I reclaim, my financial sovereignty, my money flows from source to me directly, all loyalty extended, all hope invested, all money and material resources that are rightfully mine, period. I reclaim my complete and total freedom from 4D Anunnaki financial, it's my throat, so drink some water. So I reclaim my complete and total freedom from 4D Anunnaki, Annunaki, financial entanglements and Archon 3D systems of control. And just notice how your body is feeling. Okay, and then next sentence, whatever money, land, resources, supplies that are truly mine, let them come to me easily and effortlessly through source, not entangled systems. So I'll repeat that again. So whatever money, land, resources, supplies that are truly mine, let them come to me easily and effortlessly through source. Not, and I actually put it in capital letters, not entangled systems. And I feel like I gotta untangle my hair. Not entangled systems. If they do not come easily, so entangled systems, period. So another sentence. If they do not come easily, I release it to source, period. I am free of entanglements and interference. I am complete. I am abundant through source, period. Okay, so I'm just going to read that again. Whatever money, land, resources, supplies that are truly mine, let them come to me easily and effortlessly through source, not entangled systems, period. If they do not come easily, I release it to source, period. I am free of entanglements and interference, period. I am complete. I am abundant through source. This severance is final and irreversible, period. This severance is final and irreversible, IRR. Throat, IRR, EVERSIBLE. This severance is final and irreversible, period. This financial severance decree is spoken with full authority of my higher self and backed by source. So I'll repeat that again. This severance is final and irreversible, period. This financial severance decree is spoken with the full authority of my higher self and backed by source. Period. We're almost there. Good job. We're almost there. Witnessed by and colon, and then name your team of unconditional love that you named up above. You can name the same list, your team of unconditional love. And you really want to bring, power and authority, put source as your witness, put God, source, divine presence, and then name, name your team, your guides, your counsel partners, they are happy to remove interference from you. They have been waiting to remove interference from you. And then we thank the team of unconditional love, comma, for witnessing, comma, maybe too many commas, I'm not sure. So we thank the team of unconditional love for witnessing and protecting this financial severance decree, and so be it. Let it be updated in the Akashic records, the Book of Life, the Tapestry, and the Cosmic Records with Thoth. Thoth is Thoth, and he is from the Egyptian expression or timeline, but he's cosmic. He keeps the cosmic records. I claim this decree in Source's name. So it is declared. So it is done. It is sealed. It is irreversible. And this is a key line, and then I'll explain it. But I am not of their realm. And this realm, so realm is REALM, and this realm has no claim on what I am. Period. Claimed, period. Sovereign, period. No vacancy, period. So I am not of their realm, meaning I'm not of the 3D material plane. I am source aligned, heart-based being on earth in a 3D body. So I'll repeat that line again. We're almost done. And then we're going to get to the fun part, which is the burning. Well, actually, you have to read it 3 times. That takes courage. Okay. So it's going to take courage to persevere, to read it 3 times and just notice how your body is feeling. And you can even write some notes on how the process felt. Okay. So I claim this decree in Source's name. So it is declared. So it is done. It is sealed. It is irreversible. I am not of their realm. And this realm has no claim on what I am. Period. Claimed, period. Sovereign, period. No vacancy, period. And then write it signed in sovereignty, comma, and then your full name, today's date, the time, your signature. It is done. So be it. And I wrote those in capital letters. Okay, so that's the written part, and it is now complete. Okay, so that it's big, right? So, but also, this has all been in your energy, right? So you're feeling how your body's feeling. Okay, so now you're going to read your decree out loud 3 times, and you can stand or sit, so why 3 times? It's kind of the three is like a spiritual law of Trinity, so it breaks resistance. So each time you say it, it's getting amplified. And every time you amplify it, you're increasing the frequency with your full voice, your full power. So your frequency is becoming more powerful than what you're releasing on the page. And sound carries power and frequency. So we speak it out loud, speak it with authority. You're commanding, you're not asking, you're not begging, you're stating. Okay, and then the 3 times, because you're going to notice each time, how does your body feel? And it will feel different each time you read it. Each time you're speaking it, more amplification, more power, and it helps really break the resistance. And that's what the decree is for. It's removing what that doesn't belong to you, and it's removing resistance, clearing, to the root cause. Okay, so now you can pause the video and then speak your decree 3 times. Trust the process, trust the process. Okay, so now, welcome back. Good job reading it 3 times. Now we're going to go to the kitchen. I'm not going to go to my kitchen. I'm going to be here, but we're going to grab our pot and then your tongs. Okay, and then you're going to grab your paper and we're going to fold it 3 times. So once, and then again, and then again. Okay, so 3 times, and then I'm just going to hold it like that. And then you're going to get your lighter and you're going to light it, and you can light it in all 3 places or in the middle or whatever you want. Okay, but just keep it away from you because the flames actually can be quite big and it can be very smoky, right? Because of what is on this piece of paper. It's one single piece of paper, but it is amazing what this little piece of paper will do when it's burning. And then just notice everything's got to be burnt to ash. And so if there's something that hasn't burnt, just pick up that little tiny bit of it and then notice what's on it. Like notice what didn't burn, and you can write that down. And then you want to burn it again. Okay, so get your lighter and burn it again. So I like to say no sneaky snakes in this work, right? We're very thorough. Okay, and then you're going to sprinkle some salt on the ashes. Sea salt, it's like it seals, it's like an energy sealer. It seals it. So we're sealing these ashes. And then you're going to take your pot to the bathroom and you're going to dump the ashes in the toilet and make sure all the ashes go in the toilet. The ashes are not a keepsake. You do not want to keep the ashes. And if something doesn't burn and you have to re-burn it, just command, like, this is released. Like, I'm free. Like, you can do whatever you want, you know? The people, places, and things that you wrote on your decree, they can do whatever they want, but you're declaring, I'm free, this is released. You're deciding, you're choosing. And then I put water in the pot 3 times and fill it up with water that had the ashes. And then I put that in the toilet and I flush it. So I'm like very thorough because I've seen, in people's sessions, I've seen the ashes hide on the rim of the toilet or go on top of the toilet, or you flush and some ash, like ash is so light and it doesn't flush, right? So we're just going to be thorough and just go for it. You're here, why not? You're doing a burning ceremony, just go for it. Do it safely, be an adult, be responsible, but have some fun. This has been, haunting you for a long time. This has been draining you. And, the release of the burning is amazing because it's actual physical transmutation. You're transferring it to the ether. Okay. And just remember to salt your ashes before putting them in the toilet. I have forgotten to do that, so that's okay. We're not here to be perfect, but just, yeah, put some ashes in on the ashes, put some sea salt on the ashes. I can't remember what I just said. And then put it, flush it down the toilet. So, and just really command, this is released. I'm free. And just remember your team of unconditional love, they are witnessing this, this is energy work. They're not in physical bodies. We're not deluded, they're helping us not, in the 3D. We're in the 3D and 3D bodies. So, but they're helping us in the ether. This is energy work. And then your records are being updated as we speak. And you're witnessing the burning, which is your conscious participation. Like this isn't just a ritual, like you're doing it, you're speaking it, you're writing it, you're claiming it, you're declaring completion. No more looping, no more, let's make it more perfect. It's like, get it done, release it. You're declaring your sovereignty. You're not waiting to be saved by some external force, some galactic beings. It's like, yeah, of course I love the Pleiadians and, but whatever, we are just learning about our galactic history, but we also need to know what's happening in our 3D bodies. What is interfering with our 3D bodies matters more than anything. You'll get all the information, but our frequency matters. And what is interfering with our frequency and our 3D body matters the most. So definitely dispose the ashes. Okay. It's really important. Do not keep them. They are not a keepsake. They are released energy. Don't hold on to them. Okay. And then let's speak out loud this space, the name of your space that you do in the part 2 decree. So that my space is sealed in source's name, or you can say the name of your space is sealed in source's name. The cords are severed. I am free. The financial severance decree is sealed in source's name and released to source. It is irreversible. Okay, I thank my team of unconditional love for witnessing and protecting this decree. And so be it, it is done. Okay, so let's speak it out loud again. This space, the name of your space, is sealed in source's name. The cords are severed. I am free. The financial severance decree is sealed in source's name and released to source. It is irreversible. I thank my team of unconditional love for witnessing and protecting this decree. And so be it. It is done. And you know what I'm going to say? Let's say it one more time. Okay, so speak it out loud. This space, the name of your space is sealed in source's name. These cords are severed. I am free. The financial severance decree is sealed in source's name and released to source. It is irreversible. I thank my team of unconditional love for witnessing and protecting this decree. And so be it. It is done. Yay. Yay, yay, yay. Let's get our, financial sovereignty. Okay, so self-care. So wash your hands. Have a foot with sea salt or Epsom salt, foot bath or bath if you can, or shower. or go in the ocean if you can. Like if you're in a good place where you can go in the ocean and the temperature is good. Um, but let the body process the release. Let the body rest and integrate for a few days. Trust yourself in your team of unconditional love. They've been wanting you to get, they never want us holding on to anything. And I see that in every energy session. They do not want us holding on to anything, and especially things that are not ours. They want our field cleared. So notice how your body shifts. Write everything down, if you want or if you will, in a journal. Pay attention to your dreams, especially for the first 3 days. If you wake up with a dream, it's a message. It's usually, some people have told me that they've had like interference, after one of the decrees where they feel like they're, body paralysis, where they're being pinned down. Well, that's really good to know that there's something interfering with you when you're sleeping. Usually, I find it that they're interfering with at like 7D. So you just notice it, and then it's something that you want to release in your decree. And then, just notice you might feel like an energy return. You might feel like your weight shifts, or you might feel emotions come up, grief, sadness, just allow them to come out. And just know that your body now is, we're here to stabilize 5D consciousness now. And so we're not energetically yanked around from 5D, 3D, 4D, and just like all over the place, right? And we want to stabilize at the 5D frequency. And you'll feel very secure and stable at 5D frequency. So, yeah. And if you get any backlash from anybody, especially the people on the list or the institutions on the list, just, try to be like gray rock, no guilt. Their reaction is none of your business, basically. Like it's not your responsibility. Like your responsibility is removing whatever is, not yours in your field. And sometimes, people have really counted on controlling you for a long time, especially in family dynamics and family businesses, inheritance, estate law. I mean, it's not estate law, but estates. So, they're usually used to, you know, um, somebody that they want to like rip off, right? So if they rip you off, they get more kind of thing. So just notice how everybody reacts. You just kind of just notice. And then, keep doing the technology decree daily, claiming your space daily in source's name. And then just keep affirming like, I am sovereign. My decree stands. Cords are severed. Team protect me. Unconditional love, team protect me. Protect the decree. And then, do the maintenance. Part 3, preparing your space. Do the maintenance of your space. The plants as you can, depending on your animals and small children. And then just the salt, sage, selenite crystals, like anything that makes you feel, you don't have to get, that's the thing, that this decree is very simple. It's very cost effective. It is very effective and it is cost effective. And we just did the financial severance decree. So as we close, just know that you can always book a session with me, but you don't need to. I'm always glad to meet you though. I love having sessions. Sometimes I do small groups, so usually not more than 3 people. You can join YouTube Live and have a chat. Let me know how you're doing. Give me some feedback. Let me know how it went. I love knowing how you're doing. And, you know, just let your body process this. This is big. It's big news. And okay, so let's close here. As we end here, let's close the space now. That's very important. So we give thanks to Source, our higher self, our guides of unconditional love, the team of unconditional love, and Gaia, the ancestors of the land. Thank you for the love, the wisdom, and the protection that you have shared. May all energies from this session continue to support for the highest and greatest good. Sealing the energy and closing the space in Source's name. We now seal the space in Source's name with divine golden light from Source. All energy work is anchored and integrated into the now. This space is now closed with love and gratitude. Only Source's golden light and unconditional love remain. Thank you for being here. Take what lands, leave the rest, but let's remove everything that is not for our highest and greatest good. With much love and much thanks. See you in the next one.